Weaponized women? Well, here we go. Climb aboard the DragonShip. What the heck is going on? It's the DragonShip. Or a rising tide, you're called. You ready to go, Glenn? You ready to go, Paul? Take care of you. That's what you get when you get off the boat. Thanks, Nuke. Here we
Content in this video may trigger you if you're a pansy, a feminist, soy boy, a white knight. So if you require a safe space and you don't know the real definition of tolerance, I suggest that you turn off this video and go find Drag Queen Story Hour somewhere. You might enjoy that better.
Hey, thanks, Glenn, for that intro and disclaimer, because we're going to need it today, gentlemen, here on the DragonShip. Weaponized women. Yes, women have been weaponized in a ferocious and destructive way, brainwashed by decades of media hype. All political parties, they all need to control this identity politics, and it's come down to men and women. Women are now the weapons of men's mass destruction. We're seeing it right now, man. As a responsible man that I care deeply about women, I hate seeing them weaponized like this. big tech corporations, IG. I mean, also the old religions trying to do it. Everybody's trying to control the slave state from their perspective, and women are the ultimate weapon. Why? Because now you can be canceled, put in prison, have character assassinations, or even real assassinations. And that's really tricky. So let me bring up the panel, and we're going to get right at it with this whole weaponized women thing. But I guess before we do, shall we talk about what's happening in 2 weeks? The event of the century in the manosphere. Something pretty solid. Now, I heard a little birdie say that my good friend and Viking son, GL, was a little under the weather. I'm hoping he's able to step up here. But then again, you know, it's no joke what Paul's bringing to the table.
No, Paul is the joke that's coming to the table. He's going to be the joke that goes through the table. Let's just clarify something here. The only reason why I'm giving him the time of day is because this is for charity. All right. I am going to dismantle single-handedly this bald-headed jabroni whose mom is on my side. Let's get that straight. Mrs. Come On Man Podcast Senior is on my side. You mama knows best, right? So Paul, you should listen to your mom. Listen to your mom. All right. Do yourself a favor. Listen to your mom.
Look, you can run your mouth all you want, but the fact remains, I've come here to drink coffee and kick some ass, and I'm all out of coffee. Look, I'm not the one running my mouth. I'm all out of coffee, baby.
10,000 videos.
This belt is not leaving my possession. Okay. At Fall Fight Club, we're going to settle this. We're going to settle this once and for all. It's going to be, we're not going to be talking. It's going to be all fists. And we're going to settle it in the middle of the ring like men. You can get it on pay-per-view right here, Fall Fight Club at ComeOnManPod.com.
That's pretty fantastic. I see what's going on here. Yeah, go ahead, Glenn. Let's have a couple more.
One more thing to say. See, I'm too busy training and taking this seriously to make all these little spoofy infomercial videos of my bald head and my Taibo workouts. All right. I'm actually in the gym throwing 200 pounds over my head like it's a lightweight, just so I could throw Paul's 185-pound ass across the ring and into the casket. Because let me tell you something right now. He's not going to stop me. Death can't stop me. His little tricks didn't stop me. All right. His little cold that he tried to give me, I sneezed it out on a fucking thong underwear. That's right. On his own thong underwear. I don't know how I got it, but I did it. All right. So he can't.
This got weird really quick.
What about a thong? I mean, we're talking about weaponized women today, but yeah. Hey, why don't you guys, Paul,
yeah,
why don't you drop the link for the pay-per-view, guys? This is some exciting stuff. I mean, I want to, before I get to the next segment, I want to definitely hit everybody in the comments. It looks like we got quite a few folks in there. We got Armed Details, which of course is AJ, our very own Drakkar. We got Nuke, we got Laurent, you two in here. CCW, Inner Masculine has come on board. We got some good listeners today, so I wanted to acknowledge all you guys. And did we drop that link in there?
And I will be making
drop it into every
yeah. I put it in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a link as well. Just so you guys know, this, like, we're having fun with this, but this whole event, it actually is going, we're giving some of the proceeds to charity. All right, we already made a pledge to donate a certain amount of money to this charity for this school's high school gym and physical athletic stuff. So, you know, you guys are not just enjoying a fun show, but you're also helping out a school in Las Vegas, make sure that they get the right equipment to, you know, be able to train and keep these kids healthy. So it's all kids, but it's also going to a good cause.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, you know, donating. I mean, of course, we're all going to participate, but yeah, donating to, you know, 304 prevention starts in high school, and everybody's going to appreciate that. Okay, guys.
304 prevention.
Before we get into the bulk of that, I'm gonna hit you with a beautiful message, and we all want you to see this. So here we go. Masculinity is in crisis. What are we to do? We need to acquire a dominant masculine presence. Now available on Amazon. Masculinity is in crisis.
Men's masculine behaviors and traits have been suppressed by popular culture. Why has it become so popular to shame, guilt, insult, masculinity, and masculine behaviors? After 50 to 70 years of this has resulted in a very large subset of men who have become weak, useless, and crisis. Pathetic state for boys and men that leads to depression and violent despair. A dominant masculine presence addresses this very dilemma for the individual man, and it firmly establishes why this is what is desperately needed by the individual man today. In this book, clearly defined masculine traits and behaviors and the emotional durability provided by traditional masculinity are presented as a guide to what every man should embed into his identity. Putting these principles and behaviors into practice will motivate and direct your path step to step to create for yourself an authentic, dominant masculine presence.
So now we're back from that, guys. Let's talk about weaponized women. You don't think they're here? They're absolutely here. And I'd like to share with you guys, they're going to affect each and every one of you. This has been going on for years and years and years. Women have been weaponized all throughout the centuries. There's a biblical example with a solid God-fearing man named Samson, right, Glenn? Was not a woman weaponized against him? This is a weakness that many men face, is weaponized women.
Women were weaponized against him, but let's be honest here. Women weaponize themselves against men.
This is true.
And
I would like to
blame
show
the
you guys.
you could blame the courts and all this stuff, but you have to be a willing participant in order to be a weapon. Okay, so women have weaponized themselves against men.
I'm going to push back on you on that, and here's the difference. Why? The difference why is because we have become so adept at the technology of propaganda and conditioning through education that we can convince people that at their core, they're convicted and right. This is the problem with the ideologies of the left and the right. They become religions, essentially. And you can convince someone that they're right and they are a weapon. This is how we get, women with explosive vests running into a crowd to do the terrorism. They think they're doing the right thing.
Thor, if I may say, I think it's before Samson and Dalila that actually women were weaponized. If we go back even further, research concludes that a naked woman giving a fruit to a dude leads to perdition. Like Adam and Eve. This is as far as it gets.
Did you guys see the recent study? There was a study. I missed it, placed it somewhere, but apparently out of 300 dudes that were given photographs of naked women offering the fruit, 100% would accept the fruit.
Something like that.
100% of men would accept fruit from a naked woman. Just saying, all right?
Hell yeah.
But now, maybe not this one that I'm not this woman that I'm going to play, but this is what you're faced with right now. You don't think this affects you? This affects you in every aspect of your life. Glenn, you had a touch of this last November. A touch of this hit you. And of course, we all face this. I'm going to go ahead and put it up on screen. This is the Karen from HR that has been put in place over the last 30 years to affect every single man out there. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened to Yahoo and why this is so important. That was on the cutting edge just 9 years ago. This is pretty wild. This is the weapon that you'll be facing.
I'm a recruiter.
Here we go.
I'm a recruiter. It's a small industry. Smaller than you'd think. Same with HR. So, if you're looking for a job, or maybe trying to keep a job, think about what you're putting on social media. Again, freedom fighters. I know you're not really big with stats and, facts aren't your thing, But what I can tell you, what is a fact, is that recruiters talk. And recruiters, like the majority of Canada, don't agree with you.
Well, that sounds
Shout out to Think Before You Sleep. I could not
because
actually
that's
get the
certainly what
original.
she's suggesting she would do.
Do you know what that means? Do you have any guesses? Any guesses what that means? What that means is that if you need a job, you might not get one. If you want to keep a job, you might not get to do that. And you think we can't do anything, but we can. We have the power. Always remember that. Doesn't matter if there's a fucking man at the top of your HR department. It's run by women. and it's run by angry women just like me.
That's
Recruiters are watching, HR is watching, everywhere, and we hate you. We hate you so much.
You don't see a lot of attractive
so
feminists,
so
do
glad
you?
I got that off my chest. It's been eating me up inside.
Well, this is an
And
interesting dilemma. She put
honestly,
this on. It got
my
deleted.
heart goes out to you guys. I mean, you have
Dude,
families
what
to
a
feed, right?
she's definitely a
Big-
misandrist and probably a sociopath at the same time.
This is not uncommon. This is a trained woman, and she's trained in her ideology. She's convicted. This is what weaponization looks like. And the point is that she was making is she will eliminate your ability to feed your family. She even states that. Oh, you guys need jobs. You need to feed your families. Oh, too bad. She states that. Now, this got removed, so it was difficult for me to capture, but it's out there if you dig far enough and long enough. That's a pretty serious one. Some of us have experienced some canceling in our chosen professions because of, our belief systems, or even not even our belief systems, the tools that we have used and have spread to other men, which are not belief systems, doesn't fit, the Marxist ideology of modern feminism. In fact, it stands against it because it talks reality, and a lot of this is not reality. However, they can affect reality. HR has grown immensely in the last 20 years here in the US and Europe. And, it used to be called employee relations, where they would relate to their employees. Now it's human resources. You're just a resource. And when resources, run out, or we need different resources, you're nothing. So it's pretty wild. I looked up the statistics on how many women were actually in HR. It was actually difficult to get. I got a statistic of 76% of all HR managers were women, but I couldn't, because there's a lot of analysts and stuff that go with that, and consultants and technical specialists. I couldn't really get much beyond that because the way it's reported here. But just know that it's a large majority of women, and then go look up the requirements in college, any college, on coming out as someone that specializes in it's usually a feminine, it's called female studies or feminine studies. Women's studies group is preferred, and you could do this by ZipRecruiter. You could find out what is the preferred education for this, and you realize immediately that you've been propagandized and this is weaponized. And this other woman a few years ago wrote this article here, which I'd like to add to the stage right now, which this is weaponized too. Where did it go?
Probably decade, particularly since the financial crisis.
I didn't really want to run it, but
companies, but also in the public sector, this question of company culture came to the fore, and the idea that if you could manage a bank manage a bank's culture.
Let me stop right here. She's talking about back after the financial crisis and why HR exploded. There was a philosophy that because men were running the financial systems, this happened, and it became very popular worldwide. That she's going to talk about something called HR training and DEI, which is diversity, inclusion, and equity training, which involves something called unconscious bias, which is a made-up foo-foo thing to tell people that you're not even aware of the problems that you have in your head. And we're here to tell you, and that will make companies better. Well, what I wanted to do, I thought this was a web page, and I apologize, is her article is right here on how the HR monster destroyed the workplace. And this was actually put out in 2016. So this has been in place for a long time. This lady ran a third-party HR consultation and training outfit. And what they do is train your employees and give you a rating. And this rating, it goes to your employer and tells them how friendly you are, like to the woke people and things like this. Why is this important, guys? It's important because these corporations have signed on with something called the World Economic Forum. Well, good Lord, Thor and Laura, why is that important? Why is something like the World Economic important to weaponized women? Well, women represent about 80% of all consumer spending. That's huge. Corporations are going to be interested. So that's out there. And the World Economic Forum has signed on about 85% of all public corporations in the world. Why would they sign on to that? Well, because they're backed by the International Monetary Fund. And if you have signed on with the World Economic Forum, you can get special loans if you have something called an ESG score, environmental social governance score. I know this sounds complex. It's not binary like we like to talk about, but you'll follow me on this. You understand why women are weaponized. So if you have this score, this ESG score, about 40% of the score is you following this HR policy that this lady just talked about, and it's politically driven. You as a corporation get a score. And if your score is good enough, guess what? You get special loans for your operating capital. That's pretty stunning. And what is the purpose of this? Well, at least the lady we heard, that was the Karen from Canada from HR, saying we're going to cancel you essentially. You're not going to get the job. Who did we see get their job just destroyed right now for millions of dollars? Who was it this last week? Paul, you talked about it. Who was it?
Russell Brand.
Not even from an HR department. Oh, wait, even bigger than an HR department. Guess what? The articles were by women, weren't they? And what were they on? Allegations of sexual assault from 15 years ago. And what did YouTube do? Which is a corporation that has HR, that is signed through Google, one of the biggest WEF, World Economic Forum supporters, that has one of the highest ESG scores and follows the DEI policies.
But you're just proving my point, though. Like, women are weaponizing themselves against men.
I mean, that's feminism in a nutshell, right?
But I mean, it's women choosing to be weapons against men, to cancel men. It's women doing so. Like, let's just face it. This whole thing against Russell Brand is a money grab. You're not going to get him in prison because there's no physical evidence anymore. There's no physical evidence collected.
Can't they put guys in jail without charges now, Glenn?
What?
Can't they put guys in jail now without charges?
No, they can't put you without charges. It can't be charged and thrown in jail in America.
Didn't they do that with Tate?
Wait, is he in America?
He's not in America.
Oh, yeah.
Russell Brand's not in America either.
But what I'm getting at is that it's women choosing to be weaponized against men. The society may have instituted this ability for women to do it, but it's women taking the willful choice and choosing to do it themselves. They have a choice. We could either be weapons against men or not weapons against men, and they are choosing to be weaponized against men. So it's not the government, it's not society, it's women choosing to do it. We can't negate their ability to choose what to do.
They're being indoctrinated to do it.
I don't think I am. I think it's like this. I think they're missing. They have a unique vulnerability having communitarian nature to them. They want to be good chimp, as Paul from Apex Mindset. They want to be good chimp. So if you convince them that good chimp, remember the Bible where the serpent convinced her to be good chimp, she had to bite it? That's what he really did. So here we have these organizations convincing us to be good chimps, eat your bug sandwich. You'll be happy with nothing. Now, the way they institute it is by definitely weaponizing women. They weaponized these gals with Russell Brand, right? Some 15 years ago, because he was a playboy and may have had sex with women, and somehow they went looking for them, and they might have heard a story or two from the past, and then made this giant hit piece in which a U.S. corporation heavily involved with the WEF shut down a multi-million-dollar monetization stream based on what? There's nothing there yet. No criminal charges, nothing. It was one of those bells. See, when a woman is weaponized and she can ring a certain bell, it cannot be unrung. The reverberations last forever. You know this, Glenn. You had an experience. It is wrong.
Yeah, but see, again, I still will say, like, I'm sorry, I have to push back here. Women have a choice. If your argument with Eve knew that she shouldn't have eaten the fruit because she was already told by Adam. So they already know, if you're going to use that as an argument, they know right from wrong. So they're choosing to do this because everybody else is doing it.
Yes,
that doesn't make it right.
I agree with that. I think some of them just have such a low IQ. It's whatever the herd's doing.
So then women are stupid. Then
Well, yeah, there's plenty of men like that too. It's like, well, they're doing it, so it must be okay for us. And this is a big problem with the neocon right, even Christians, since the left has adopted cancel culture. You can see it with the Daily Wire right now. What are they calling for? We need to cancel the left. They use exactly the same strategy. So, there's no forgiveness on either side as far as I'm concerned with that.
If you also think about it, this isn't a new strategy because even Lenin used this to further the Soviet Union when he had the revolution.
Oh, do you guys want to see something funny? This is the propaganda. Let's see if I got it. Where is the propaganda? I had another video up here. Where did it go? Oh, I had a really cool video. Let's get rid of some of these. I had a cool video.
What these women do know is that they know that they had sex consensually with Russell Brand because they wanted to fuck him. And you know what?
Yeah.
They know that if I say that he sexually assaulted me, I could get money. I could get a settlement out of court.
Mm-hmm.
So no, they know right from wrong because they know that they chose to have sex with him consensually. And then they know that it's a money grab to do it this way. So they know right from wrong. They know they're lying. It's not that they don't know what they should do and what they shouldn't do. Let's not give them a pass for not being accountable for their own actions here.
One thing I tell guys, when it comes to seducing women is if you invite a girl back to your place, women aren't stupid. They know exactly what could happen at your place. And if they're actively choosing to go to your place, they know what's going to go down. And as long as you don't stick your foot in your mouth, sex is probably going to happen. Now the case with Russell Brand, with a couple of these women, and I'm not here to say he did it or didn't. I wasn't fucking there. Everything right now is hearsay, right? But according to what's being reported, like at least one of these cases, he was trying to seduce a woman. She wasn't having it. And then he wouldn't let her leave. Like she wanted to leave his house and he wouldn't let her leave. Like that kind of stuff, and then I guess she did manage to escape. She told him, hey, look, I got to go to the bathroom or whatever. She made her escape. She did go and get like a rape test done. I guess medical records. Actually, there are evidence of medical records for that. I did a stream on this yesterday because a lot of guys are pointing to this kind of stuff, why you can't trust women, why you shouldn't even talk to women now. Like a lot of the MGTOW guys are jumping on this. It's like, well, how about if you do have a girl at your house and she does want to leave, you just fucking let her leave, that you won't have some of these problems, right? If you don't act a fool, I think that's pretty safe to say. Now I brought up Glenn yesterday too on the stream because Glenn's case was totally different. Yeah. Glenn had a situation. I'll let Glenn tell the story in depth, but Glenn had a situation where the girl was totally consensual, came over. She knew exactly what she was doing, but her boyfriend caught her. And so because she didn't want to get in trouble with the boyfriend, that caused the shitstorm that fucked with Glenn for quite a while. But
yeah, see, like, and that's where I'm like, okay, so according to her story, she tried to escape, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
That could be very well true. But what also could be true is that she had sex with him consensually, right? And she's like, now I got him. And I will use this when I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's absolutely true.
All rape kit proves is that their sex happened. Right? Unless, it does show, tearing and if there's some form of trauma, but fucking is traumatic.
Well,
if you do it right, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
So what I'm getting at is even a rape kit doesn't prove rape; it proves sex.
Right. So
this is
an old strategy, right?
But when I hear these things that saying women are being weaponized, I'm like, no, women are choosing to be weaponized. It's a choice that they're making. When I went through my case, that woman chose to be weaponized against me because she decided that, you know what, her relationship with her boyfriend finding out she didn't want to be known as a slut was more important than being honest and being truthful. So she chose to be weaponized. There's not this like, oh, women don't know what right from wrong. Either they're dumb and they shouldn't have any rights, right? Or they need to be held accountable for
You're misreading my pushback. My pushback isn't that at all. They do know right from wrong. What I'm saying is they'll be given information that they will think is right, and they will choose the wrong path to go. They won't have all the information in front of them. And that's just laziness on their part, I think. But we've really put a lot of women in our modern education system into going down this path. And I hate to say it, but they really need men to lead them to the right path. They really, really do. And understand the ethics of doing things like false allegations. This isn't a new weaponization for women. Do they choose to be weapons? I would say ultimately, you're right, Glenn, but also they can be set up to make a decision without all the information. And that's really sad when that happens. Now, let's talk about one that actually made her decision to be weaponized completely. This started in the 90s. In fact, prior to the 90s, when I started my work in management and began my education, my college education, I was told by an old guy, he was a Mormon at the time, and I suspected he might have had more than one wife. But you know what he told me? He goes, when you go into the office, there's going to be women. Never be caught alone with a woman. Always have somebody there with you. Never go to lunch with one. As nice as they can be, treat them extremely respectfully. Treat them like you would a man, with the exception of don't be alone without somebody witnessing what's being said and what is going on. Now, that's very interesting. I got that information, and he also told me, never dip your pen in company ink. You guys know what that means, right? Don't shit in your own biscuit. There's reasons for this. It's very important. It's part of human nature. Go back to the 90s, and where did it start with? Justice Clarence Thomas. Does anybody remember the pubic hair on the Coke can?
Yeah. That was
Anita
classic.
Hill weaponized herself in the most public fashion imaginable. Has anybody been around? You know what? I absolutely love African Americans and how they party and how they really get down and dirty when they're enjoying themselves. I love it. They're just so free and so open. But here you go. Her allegations were made from some 10 to 20 years prior. No statute of limitations. Wait a minute. Let's talk about statute of limitations in a little while when we bring up the other famous guy that got 30 years. We'll do that in a minute. But do you guys remember Clarence Thomas? How about you? You guys ever hear that, Nuke and AJ?
I was 2 months old. I actually looked up the confirmation date, and I was 2 months old when he was confirmed to the Supreme Court. So I don't know any of it.
You're such a baby.
So briefly, he's the first black man to be nominated to the Supreme Court. But as ideologically, he was a judge that leaned slightly. It wasn't even hard right. It would be considered moderate today. Absolutely libertarian. And he was going to be slated with making decisions based upon the constitutionality of laws that were presented around the country as a Supreme Court justice, a part of the balance of power. The left had made huge strides in stacking the courts with very liberal, left-leaning kind of Marxist philosophy judges on purpose. Many of them funded directly or indirectly through projects such as Thousand Talents, Confucius Institute, all of these donating money to law schools. Anyway, back to the story. So he gets nominated, and Congress tears him apart and brings a witness to assassinate his character, which is a young, was she a judge or another attorney? She was another attorney that had worked with him and claimed he had sexually harassed her. It wasn't even considered sexual assault at the time. It was sexual harassment. She claimed that he put pubic hairs on her Coke can and then laughed and made jokes about pubic hairs. That's just some of what was put on. And this went on for weeks. His confirmation trial went on for weeks because people wanted to hear the salaciousness. I think one time he said, talk about panties or something like that. And that his sexual prowess was really good. I mean, it was so benign, so bizarre. And if anybody knows anything about human memory, it's like 1/3 fallible for all of us. And you know what the proof is? In every criminal case that DNA is held in evidence, over 30% is proven incorrect against the eyewitness. That means a third of our memory is bullshit. That's just the truth. So yeah, it started there. And then you guys saw one recently, AJ, this guy, Brent Kavanaugh. I think that was 30 years old. 30 years old, went to a party. He threw her down in the bedroom and wouldn't let her leave. And she thought she was going to get raped. No witnesses. Although they brought character witnesses saying she was a wonderful woman.
Come to find out, he wasn't even there. She wasn't even there. But they weren't even in the same place.
So she might have been one that had that IQ issue and that emotional intelligence that got, kind of had information withheld from her and thought she was doing something right and justful. In reality, it was the worst decision she could have possibly made, and it was quite evil.
Or she could have said, let me fabricate this story.
Did you watch
I don't like his politics, and I don't want him on a Supreme Court ruling against, my alleged female rights. I don't think she was that
articulate. I listened to her. I don't think she was that articulate. Somebody else was doing that.
Okay, then somebody told her to lie. Either way, there was a lie.
Yeah.
Then she chose to agree to the lie.
Correct.
It was probably Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi telling her to lie. Let's pull somebody in here. Let's try not to get this guy in because we don't want to. Yeah, we don't want that.
And we'll give you a nice little kickback for you.
Yeah. So even then, she knew she was lying. So she saw the money, and she decided to go with the money, other than being truthful. Okay.
You think she got paid money? I mean, there was allegations, but I never heard follow-ups that there was funding for her to be away from her job.
Look, if the government wants to pay you without you finding out, anybody finding out, they'll find a way.
Right.
Cash.
There was
exactly.
I believe there was a charity that was introduced to fund her testimony. That's the one thing I remembered. So there was political opponents to Kavanaugh that was funding. There was a vested interest in so she could be away from work to do this just thing, right? As a weapon. Pretty wild when you follow the money. Definitely some weaponization going on there by her choice, just like Glenn said. And then there's the interesting case of, our friend Crowder, whereas the Tradcons are going after him for what? He raised his voice. Not even an essay allegation, a raising a voice.
Emotional abuse.
Emotional damage. Let's think about it. So,
but you know what? It's the bell. It's the bell that gets rung, Glenn. It's the bell that gets rung, and it resonates.
Well, here's the thing. If you want to talk about, the abuse, or you want to talk about why women are doing this, is because they're incentivized. There's no consequence for a woman lying. There's no consequence for you lying against a guy claiming that you raped him. Sure, it's false allegation, false report, but you know how hard it is to prove that false allegations were made in court? You have to, it is damn near impossible to prove false allegations unless you have witness or you have evidence that she said, hey, in a text message, I'm going to accuse, Nuke that he touched me inappropriately. I need you to back me up because I'm going to get paid. Unless you have that, you don't have a case. So they can lie just like Ford did against Kavanaugh. Right?
I disagree. Nuke has much better taste. He would never touch you.
True. But women can lie because they have been incentivized. One, from a financial standpoint. Two, from a fact that you're not going to get in trouble. You don't. Even if they prove us wrong, you're not going to get punished. The guy's career and his lifestyle, his whole life is now ruined because he's been labeled this rapist or this abuser, right? Like Steven Crowder here. He already lost. Public court opinion has lost him. His businesses have suffered. He may win the case, but he lost the war.
Yeah, you know why? Women have been weaponized in a way that we're not recognizing right now. And here's how. Since the 70s, we've been broadcasting in our academic circles, our liberal circles, and even our conservative circles that women don't lie. Children don't lie was the first test in the 70s. This was real because there was something called false memory syndrome. At the time, they didn't realize it. So they were believing all of these therapists would find these daycares And they would say they were doing all this horrible abuse of the children. And what they were really doing is the therapists, which were women, convinced the kids that's what was happening. It was absolutely proven false. This happened in California. False memory syndrome is real. But what stemmed out of that is a larger media issue that was believe all children. And then it was believe all women, which is wild because now that we have done this to all of our little girls, they lie constantly from the moment they're with mommy. They lie. They lie about their looks. They lie about their friends. Oh, you look fantastic. You don't look fat. You're encouraged to lie at every step. And now we've added a financial incentive. Boy, that's going to be a tough one to roll back because the lying is really kind of inbuilt into their social structure at this point. That's a hard one. What do you say about that, Nuke? You're muted. Oh, we got some time. Okay, so AJ, what are you thinking about? What do you think about that when I say women lie and they're trained to do so since birth, which is an insidious way. It actually adds to Glenn's argument. Trained from birth to lie. You're muted too. So, okay.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I thought my mic was off and I actually had the mute down there. So I'd say the way that modern society is going, they're actually like kind of playing with the Evo psych side of the brain where women seek that comfort. So I think they're kind of being led to lie out of maintaining the comfort, getting their cake and eating it too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me use an example of modern weaponization for you guys right now about lying and that sort of thing. Has anybody here heard about the CEO of Yahoo 2012 to 2017? This woman, a younger woman in her 30s, had made it to the C-suite, job of a lifetime. Marissa Mayer, CEO of Yahoo. Under her tutelage, she lost 4.5 billion in advertising revenues. But what really happened is she had to testify before Congress and the Science Transportation Committee due to serious data breaches as well under her leadership. But what really struck out to me when I heard about this is she was definitely raised as a feminist. There's plenty of video of her on that, but she lost a huge multi-million-dollar settlement to male employees of Yahoo. Because, see, she was ousted when Verizon had to buy Yahoo to keep it from bankruptcy. It's a fact. There was a man who filed a class action suit because she changed HR to do performance evaluations that were different for male employees, that stacked the deck radically against men being promoted and offered jobs inside of Yahoo. Is it any wonder they lost the leadership? She had no direct male leadership in that company. I mean, they were worth 10 billion and they dropped 4.5 billion in that time. That's a huge loss. And they had lost all their operating capital. And that's just some of the perils. What do you suppose happened to her? She had to resign.
Yeah, I think I read about her in a certain book.
Yeah. Anyway,
about dominant masculine presence or something.
It's one of those items where here you go. Here's the culmination of your weaponization. And in California, they're not allowed to call it quotas, but there are quotas. It has been written into law, and it will take 7 to 12 years to get back through Supreme Court. But it's called diversity, inclusion, and equity. And what it states is when you have to hire a certain number of employees, when you have a certain number of employees and above, you have to follow state guidelines. Oh, by the way, in California, they have now changed the regulations to guidelines. So it sounds better, right? You feel better about guidelines because regulations is so harsh. So now they're guidelines. And the guidelines state you need to use the local demographics that more closely matches with who's graduating, the number of men, women, if they're the racial backgrounds, all of that stuff that used to be voluntarily offered. Now you have to use that to select in order through your HR department the first 4 to 6 interview candidates. Look, when you're screening for jobs, you're generally not going to interview more than 6 to 8 candidates anyway. So if you don't fit those categories, you're going to get pushed to the bottom. But they didn't eliminate you. Oh, no. They just slid the bar over here to the left, and now you get hired. Here is what happened to Yahoo. as a result of those type of policies right there in California. That's how they get weaponized against men. So what do you do about all this, Thor? Laurent, what do we do about all this women being weaponized? It's a tough question.
I think the answer is men need to go their own way. You know what I mean? Just give up on women. We need to go live in cabins in the woods somewhere.
Get a passport.
Just get a passport. Only find marriageable women in places like Thailand. Hopefully, that is an actual woman that you meet there. That's neither here nor there, though.
Paul has experience with that.
I actually had an HR complaint against me one time. It wasn't that long ago. I had an office, and when I got moved to a cubicle, I'll tell you how bad it's getting. So they had passed through where, used to we would put family pictures and stuff like that. And I put a picture of myself at the beach with my family, and I was posing like this. And next to it, I had a picture of me, pressing my wife above my head. Like you do, Glenn, in Vegas, we do the press with the girls, I didn't have a shirt on. You know what the complaint was? My nipples were showing. And I got talked to and had to take it down. Male nipple was showing. Now, somebody just wanted to be a Karen and throw a fit. That's okay, I guess, be a good robot. Don't do things like that.
I've told this story on Rule Zero before. I worked at a company called WebSense years ago, and WebSense had an advertisement that WebSense's own marketing department came up with and ran in national magazines. And it was a picture of this hot model, and she was nude. And then over her breasts and over her, pelvic region, there was black things saying, "Are your employees looking over the wrong figures?" Right? Because WebSense was a porn filter. It was a porn filter software.
Yeah.
And so everyone in the company had that up at their desks. If you went up to the CEO's office, he had it framed sitting at his desk, right? Because it was such a popular ad. It did so well for the company, and it was effective. And so I was one of the many people in the company that had that up at my desk because it was a great ad, right? And the chick was hotter than hell. And one day, King or Queen shit Karen from the head of HR comes over to help desk, and I used to work at help desk at the time. She comes over to help desk to get something worked on with her laptop, sees that, and she goes, "You need to take that down." And I was like, "But this is a company ad. Like, this is for our company. I have to take it down." She's like, "Yes." I go, "Everyone in the company has this at their desk, and I have to take it down."
Because you're unwelcoming. That's the new language. You're unwelcoming.
Right. And she goes, "That's not where the company's going now. Take it down now." And I was like, all right. So I took it down. I didn't want to lose my job over something stupid like that. But what I ended up doing was I found a picture of like an Eskimo woman in like a parka. And I photoshopped it to have the same, "Are your employees looking over the wrong figures?" And I made that into the ad. And I put that at my desk, sort of my little silent protest to the whole.
So silent little this.
Yeah, a little absurdity to the whole thing. Like, it's still the same ad, but it's like no one's looking at an old grandma Eskimo in a parka. Okay, there's a reason for this.
Chat, how many of you guys in the chat and in the comments have similar experiences? Because I could tell you, I'm not the only one that's had these strange experiences like that. Complaints from people I don't even know that might have walked by. Strange things. I know when the mask mandates came out that they were flooded with a lot of tattletales. He didn't have a mask on at the right place. He took his mask on when he drank water, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, Laurent, do you have examples of this in some of the corporations you work for? And then
I have the best sexual. I've been dinged a couple of times for sexual harassment in my company. I used to work for Boston.
I find that hard to believe.
I'm a Frenchman. What do you expect?
So what were the boys complaining about?
Oh, wait a minute. This is funny. Like, if you have a few minutes, you're gonna love this one. I'm the kind of guy who walks into the elevator with our CEO, say, like, "Girl, you got legs so long. With your Louboutin makes your legs so long. You should be made illegal, girl." And she giggles and she's so happy. And the HR girl is like, "Oh, goodness gracious." And then I proceed to hug the CEO. So I hug everybody. I'm a universal, like, inclusive hugger. So one day I get called to the HR, and I see a lawyer. My boss gets called, his manager gets called. All right, oh shit, this is not looking good. And then what happened is, am I still on the show?
Yeah, you're
Oh.
soloing.
Oh, and then what happened is, so I see the lawyer, see everything, and then they proceed, and what are the accusations? And they say, well, apparently you run around hugging people. Yes, you know that I hugged you this morning. And okay, so some employees complain that you're selective about your hugging. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let's rewind. And my boss starts to roll his eyes like, "Oh, so what you're saying is that I don't hug everybody equally. I'm not equal opportunity hugger, right? So we're here for basically insufficient. You call me for sexual harassment, but the real claim is insufficient sexual harassment. At which point the lawyer is like, oh no, this is not looking good. Don't worry, I got you. And then the victory lap, it took me 40 minutes for the 20 meters from the HR office to my desk, and I hugged absolutely everybody. So I actually, the Frenchman vanquished us. They called me for insufficient sexual harassment. Can you believe that?
Insufficient.
You're not sexually harassing everyone equally, Laurent. We need you to sexually harass everyone.
Boy, that's Marxist if I ever heard it.
I need to be more inclusive in my sexual harassment. That's one of my claim to fame.
That's right. So, some of these women aren't feeling included. That's the thing. My company does inclusivity training. It's fucking retarded.
All corporations do now.
Yeah, it's so retarded, and it doesn't even go so much into you have to love transgenders and whatever. They're just like, they'll talk to us about how your lowest performers, we need to give them more important jobs because they feel like they're not included in the important jobs. It's like, well, it's because they don't get the fucking job done. Yeah. Oh, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the job gets done or not, or if it gets done well.
Isn't that amazing?
We need to include them so that they feel included. It's like, why don't I just fire the fucker? Why don't I just fire the fucker? Won't that make it better? Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Because we still need to get this work done, and you still want us to have deadlines. So,
isn't that crazy? I mean, yeah, so that's very common, and it's like they say our diversity is our strength. Well, when I'm forging steel, I don't want any diversity in that steel. I want it to be pretty homogeneous to represent the strength that it can truly do as the elemental, element that it is. I mean, I think that it's very binary when they do things like that.
I got one.
Yeah, go ahead, AJ.
So before I got into the data center industry, I used to work for a company that contracted with Amtrak for the Amtrak Cascade line, and I was supervising craft trade employees. Well, we got another electrical supervisor from Spain, and he's a big fan of the Rick and Morty show, and he had a cup that said "Aw, bitches" from one of the characters. I think it was like Scary Gary or whatever. Sure. Yeah. One of the coach cleaners who had a IQ of probably 50, female, like this girl was dumb. She filed an EEO complaint because of the coffee cup saying "Aw, bitches" on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me because I've been to some of those cube farms that are, 80, 90% women. And I do have it's hard for me not to sympathize a little bit. I cannot empathize whatsoever. But, here is women outside of their nature. They're working as men. They're masculinized as men by a system that sees them as slaves. They're not doing, they're cleaning the boss's shelves, not their husbands or their children's shelves or closets. And they're pretty upset. And so they want to vent on anybody within reach. It's pretty wild to see some of the big design houses and things like that. The drama that is continuing. I swear, some of the supervisors are there just to quash drama. But that's another story. I could see that in our chat room. A lot of guys have very, very similar experiences. I would venture to say this is extremely common right now with with public corporations. I wanted to just say, public corporations, guys, are very dangerous in terms of they're all kind of merging together. They belong to the WEF. This is not conspiracy. This is fact. And they create these things called non-governmental organizations that cross borders. When you hear globalism, yeah, conspiracy, this, that. But the reality is these corporations exude or can influence governments. Some of them have larger resources than governments. And so the people that are way smarter than us that want to institute global policies know the key to this is public corporations. Every stinking country has public corporations. But like in China, they hide the fact that the majority shareholder is the government. So they want to institute global governance. It's going to be done through public corporations. Just so you know, there are private organizations out there. And one of the big arguments for Elon Musk to take Tesla back private was for that very reason, because being a public corporation, even though he has all of these, he has all of the shares to vote, he still has to play under the rules of California. And that's why he's actively trying to leave. The rest of his corporations are all private. There are a handful of corporations that remain private. They're extremely successful, have higher profit margins. Just, something to note. One of the things that happens with them is they are forced in California to play by those DEI rules, and they can't hire the best of the best because they have to interview all the people that are diverse first. So it's a pretty bizarre situation here in California, but it's going to come to all of you guys.
So the Supreme Court's affirmative action only was for like college. It wasn't for jobs too.
Well, no, there's protected classes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's protected classes.
Actually,
you can't discriminate, but you can still hire for merit, supposedly.
Quotas hiring is it's an explicit bias against meritocracy. If you hire for gender, race, or whatever, there are some that make sense. For instance, disabilities. Giving people with a disability a chance to participate is probably something we should do as a matter of dignity.
It really is, and that's the one that's the one I see the least utilized.
There was a very interesting article from the New York Times on the 23rd of October 2018, where 201 powerful people were displaced out of Me Too. And if you look at the CEOs that took over, I think it was 74 that were women. And surprise, surprise, because this is an explicit bias against meritocracy, all these companies where Me Too's managed to displace the running CEOs, they have since then underperformed the benchmark.
Yeah.
So when you do that, it has real world consequences. The best one at the moment is Bud Light. You have this talk who publicly disparages the consumers, and then they sponsor some trans dude for a beer, and then they lose billions and billions and billions. Of course, that talk got what she deserved. She got the boot. The marketing manager got the boot, but the CEO is still there.
Look at their ESG score. It went up.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. That's one of the ways, that's the hidden way that women are totally weaponized. Let me do this quick share. Just to take a step back to history where women are weaponized, I want to show you a little bit of difference. This is what we see in China right now as women, that this is how they want you to see women that are weaponized in China. Just real quick here. You guys have seen this sort of stuff before, right? This is how women is in their military. Look at this, man. They're all carrying guns. One thing I will say is they have nice little skirts.
Yeah, we got rid of the skirts here because that goes against feminism,
But, you can look here. This is how they want you to think about their female soldiers, right? But so that
makes me want to be a passport bro, but you know what I mean, guys?
There is no fat ones, right? But as I go through this, you'll see why this makes a lot of sense. This is what you want to think about. This is also Chinese women that they want to recruit, and they want them to become bodyguards. So this is a little propaganda film for this. Look at how strong and independent they are, but it's done in context. But this is completely a production just for their own use and for abroad. I mean, how fit are they? No.
I like they're all working out in the gym in their fatigues.
Well, it gets even better because look at they're training them to be tough. This is the reason I put this up, because this actually illustrates what's going on here and putting women into combat roles. This is ridiculous. But you know, it makes certain people feel good. This is
not the grab the gun from their hands. Oh no,
look
not
at
that.
this. You're going to die. And it gets even more. Now they put this in, they show their executive driving skills, but it gets even better because they've trained these women to a level to where they can sustain wine bottles broken on their head.
If they really wanted to be accurate.
Look how tough they are.
Oh, look at that.
Look at this. Oh, they are so tough.
I love that. The sugar
Look at
glass.
this. Look at this. Give me that wine bottle. Anybody see anybody that's ever actually been hit
with a real bottle? That they go down pretty quick.
So let me see if I can get over to women in the U.S. military. So that's their propaganda. Here's ours. Take a look, Glenn.
They're too busy talking about both their moms and the Patriot missile system together.
Now,
is that our OnlyFans girls in service?
This is just all girls in there. There is no decorum for them. These are all IGs and Pinterests for all. Some of these are actually
second row, second from the left. Let's zoom in on that just for science.
This one here,
yeah, just for science purposes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But
let's see what's going on there. Yeah.
Some of these gals, I mean, here you go. Officers. Would that be becoming of an officer in your career? You know, I mean, here you go. I mean, I even found a helicopter pilot doing sexy pictures. It's pretty wild. Now
probably be a letter of reprimand, at least in my time.
There's thousands of these. And if you go on IG, there's tons. This is what it's become. There's an officer. It's crazy. Air Force. There you go, Glenn. Right up your alley. Was this the girl that filed the complaint? Probably looked like her, huh? Anyway, but what is this? What is this? Now, well, you're going to say the Chinese aren't like that. They have those soldier women. You know, there's only 4%.
I was going to say most of the girls on my ship didn't look that good. Most of the girls on my ship look like fucking men.
That doesn't look like the whole, right?
Built like refrigerators.
In 2021, 17.3% active duty. That's a pretty substantial number right there of women in the US. Well, what was it in China? Let's see here. I had it up here. Let's see. Did I scroll down? No, that's the oh, here we go. 4. It is 4.2% is what I ended up with. Where's that percentage? Yep. 4.2 is for Chinese women in their army, or 4.5. And out of that, it is suspected that half of them are actually foreign intelligence officers, which, if you know anything about it, there has been thousands of articles written like this. Weaponized women. Suspected Chinese spy reportedly slept with U.S. court officials. Look at this. This is happening in nearly every state. You have articles on this. This little
women have always made some of the best spies because
they're not out there. They're using those skirts they had in the military to their advantage here in the West. Now, why do I say something like that? Do you guys realize that in 1972, we were negotiating with China? And during that negotiation, Chairman Mao offered 10 million Chinese women between the ages of 18 and 30 to be freely given to us. And Kissinger said, yeah, we'd be happy to accept them, but, you know, there's conditions. But
I'll take 4. I'll take 4.
It wasn't a joke. He even made, I have the transcript somewhere. I don't want to go through it here, but the transcript is absolutely crazy. I sent it to you guys in the other stuff, but the transcript was so crazy because what it had demonstrated was that he had a disdain for the women because they had children and they had too many females, and that they were a resource we would be better suited with. It was strange to read those transcripts, which are widely available on the internet, by the way. So China's been using them as weapons too. Can you imagine being flooded with 10 million mouths to feed? That'd be pretty crazy. But they got smart. They publicly show the women in combat roles, but the majority of them are actually in espionage roles today and propaganda roles, utilizing their femininity to be fully weaponized against the West. What do you guys say to that? I mean, Glenn, you saw some of the pictures of the Air Force gals in there. What do you think?
That's not the Air Force gals.
No, I mean, I showed you the Air Force gal earlier, the ones with that were doing the IG pictures. They'd show their uniform and then show themselves in their
Well, I mean, like, I think that, you know, if we're gonna have women in the military, we just got to figure out what their job's gonna be. Are they just gonna go, and when we go to war, are they just gonna like offer their services by like sucking dick, like try to end the war? Hey, we'll suck your dick. You know, like, women don't belong in the military. It's stupid to have them in there. They have no purpose, in my opinion. They literally only taint the uniform.
yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm sorry. The uniform was respected at one point.
Yeah.
Okay. Nowhere in any time when I was in, were we allowed to take like pictures and put it on our MySpace, because that's what we had at the time.
Right. I remember that.
Our uniform, or even if we posted pictures of us off service or not in uniform, they couldn't be derogatory in any way because we still represented the military. So when these women are posting these thirst trap pictures, they're really saying like, hey, we wear our uniforms, but hey, you know what? We're whores too. You know, it to me is just like, I don't know.
Shout out to one of our channel members.
Do you know how hard it is to
Name
work
is
with someone
Thor.
like that?
It is. It's impossible.
See, I must have been lucky because I was on the submarine force and I got out right before they started letting women on board. So
Well,
I never served with them.
They have them in the submarines now, right?
Yeah.
Now
They
they
were
do.
starting to do that like right as I was getting out.
Yeah.
I think it was like Ohio and Alabama got the first female supply officers, and then they started bringing in the midshipmen. Midshipmen graduates.
So they wanted to be down deep and filled with semen. Is that what happened?
Yes. Yeah. I had one underway where we had midshipmen on board, female midshipmen for a week, and one of the fire controlmen actually brought one back to the engine room, went down to Oxywater Bay and banged her.
There was there was females on my ship, and when I first got to my ship, it was an all male crew, and a lot of the guys were old school salts, you know, and they sort of had the mentality like, crap, we're going to get women on board, everything's going to be ruined. One good thing about having women on board though was guys actually started taking showers and actually started, you know, cleaning up and started smelling better, so that there was a net benefit there. Some of the women on the ship were actually very good sailors. They were very good. Yeah. And they had a very good military bearing. They took their shit seriously. And then there was some chicks that I knew. One chick in my division, every time she was getting ready to go on deployment, she would try to get pregnant. She would actively try to get pregnant so she'd never have to go on deployment. And she had like 5 kids or something like that. She just kept getting she'd get put in service or in sea duty. She'd get put on a sea duty command, get herself pregnant right before deployment to get transferred to shore duty. She'd been in for like 11 years at this point, and that was her MO. And so when we were getting ready to go on deployment that time, she was really trying, and she was actively trying. She couldn't get pregnant because by this time she was sort of too old to get pregnant. And she had to go on fucking deployment. It was interesting. And she would just whine and complain the whole time about missing her kids, missing her family. It's like, bitch, we're all out here missing our kids and missing our family. What are you talking about?
I knew a girl that literally
gold stripe
broke her
E5s,
leg.
no warfare device.
I knew a girl that broke her leg to avoid deployment.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty serious.
Like,
I had one chick on the ship. She was a lesbian, didn't want to go on deployment, so she decided to bring her girlfriend on the ship. This was this was during Don't Ask, Don't Tell. She brought her girlfriend on the ship, walked up to the XO's office, and just started making out with her girlfriend right there, so she would get kicked out for being a lesbian. It's like, that's how bad they actually don't want to really serve their country. They just want all of the government benefits of having a government job. They don't want to actually have to do anything that requires real service. You know, it's kind of sad.
Wow.
It's kind of like it's tough because you always have to, in the military, you always have to come up and make up for where they lack, right? And it's so hard. Like one of my jobs was I was a fire team. I had a fire team. I was a firefighter on the ship, right? And I ran a pretty tight team. Like I knew the guys. They looked up to me. They respected me. There was 2 girls on the team, and one of them was there because she wanted to be like a badass, kind of like I'm a firefighter. But she would always argue with me as the fire team leader. You never argue with your leader ever, especially in the midst of a fire. So one day I said, "Hey, charge the hose, do this, go on air, whatever." And this girl was like, "It's better if we do it like this." And I, in front of everyone, and as loud as I could, I said, "Shut the fuck up." And then she never back talked to me again. But the fact that I have to tell somebody to, hey, if you were in charge of me, I wouldn't question you. I would, politely maybe, but I would not nag you in the middle of a fucking fire drill. I would not do that. And then the girl number 2, she was only on that fire team because her boyfriend, her ship boyfriend, was on that team. So how do you motivate someone that's only there because she wants to be around her little ship boo? And it's so hard to like you constantly, yeah, whatever you want to call them. And it was so hard because how do you motivate somebody that's just there just for that, just to be around their little boo? And you can't say anything, you can't do anything, you just grit your teeth and you go back to your bunk at the end of the day and wait till you get out. Because honestly, the military is so feminized, but the difference between the military is they it's much harder to leave, right? Because the company, you can just leave if you don't like it, or you can get another job. But in the military, you gotta do some crazy stuff to get out instantly. So a lot of girls, what they do is like, they get pregnant before deployment. A lot of them, what they do is they get in with the chief or the the LPO or the officer. They have sex with them. Now they have leverage over that guy, and they have a pretty easy life, because they're fucking the division leader, and it's just like, what do you do as a guy that's just trying to get the job done and go home, but you have to be in charge of or under these women? It sucks. And a lot of guys are like, nah, I'm not doing this military stuff. I don't, what's in it for me? I have to like work twice as hard. And this person didn't feel like working today because she's on her period, or can't lift an SCBA bottle, or, can't be in the heat as long as I can, but I got to do it. And guess what? She's getting promoted the same exact day I am. And what do you do as a guy? You quit. You get the hell out of the military. You move on because it's just not fair.
Yeah. Wow. I got to say, they used to have that policy, don't ask, don't tell. I guess that's pretty interesting. Now I guess it's film, but don't sell. Is that what it is? I mean, is this acceptable in any of you guys' units? Is this, it's film, don't sell, huh? I mean, you can go, there are pages and they're all different. I did not realize that. There must be, I didn't look on OnlyFans because I don't have an account, but pretty wild. Do you think that that they're supplementing their income possibly? It's just very different, very different approach to what we're seeing out of China for sure when it comes to weaponized women. I would venture to say that the American women are more thoroughly weaponized. Definitely. Now, I want to talk.
American women have weaponized themselves, more than anybody else.
Or they have.
Like, again,
certainly,
there's a choice to do so. There's a choice, and now, like, I could see like dogs could be trained to be weaponized against other people, right? Because they're taught this, and dogs don't have right from wrong thinking like we do, right? So we were higher beings, but higher beings know the difference from right and wrong. Okay, so women have been incentivized and have been. It's the thought process is like, do what's best for you, girl. So if lying is what's best for you, lie your ass off. Okay, if being manipulative is what's best for you, girl, then do that. But when it comes to like weaponization, it's a choice to be. It's a choice to be a weapon in this sense. Now, are they incentivized? Could you even say they're manipulated? Sure, but it's still a choice to accept the manipulation even then.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
After this super that we got in, can we pull up T-Rash's comment? That's right
below that. I'm not sure where that super chat went to, but thank you very much, Chris Baker, $2. Javier Milei is the next president of Argentina, but I don't know anything about it. But okie dokie, thank you for the super chat. We are definitely supported by our viewers and our chatters here and our members, which I'm going to shout out the members in the chat today. Elena's Bar Fitness. Hey, fantastic. I know you're doing some fantastic things with my good buddy Glenn right here, and that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you pretty soon, hopefully next week. So thank you for that. Thank you for the super chat, guys. Back to the subject. Have you guys seen this? Because I want to talk about Russell Brand and this guy in California. Have you guys seen or read this? This is pretty wild. So we know that in the Russell Brand situation, we had an American corporation literally shut down millions of dollars based on basically an article that has no real proof, no real charges, no investigation at this point. And then culture, media, and sports. There is a ministry in Parliament of Britain that sent this letter by a woman, I guess her title is Dame Caroline Dinenage. And they sent this letter to basically to Rumble. And Rumble had a response, which was freaking awesome. They basically said, yeah, thank you, but fuck you. We're not going to demonetize Mr. Brand. You know, it's deeply disturbing that a parliament would do that, you know. So that's pretty wild. I'll just read the last little bit of what Rumble response was. Although it may be politically and socially easier for Rumble to join cancel culture, did you notice that's very well framed? Politically and socially easier because of the pressure to join the cancel culture mob. Doing so would be a violation of our company's values and mission. We empathetically reject the UK Parliament's demand. That's emphasis on rejecting it. Rumble is a public company. I'm worried about them because it wouldn't take much to shift that voting block into this right here, which now makes it socially easier for them. That would be difficult, but for right now, they deserve our support for sure on this right here.
If you look at the history of the United States, the founding fathers argued against this sort of thing, right? That's why we have a representative government. It's not a democracy. We have a republic, right?
A representative republic. Yep.
Republic, right? And there's a reason for that because that protects against mob rule. And then on top of that, we have the presumption of being innocent until proven guilty, so that you don't have this kind of stuff where just mere accusations gets you thrown in prison, right? Yeah. But we've thrown that all out the window. We have people we are ruled by a mob in social media. We do have social media justice, and people are getting demonetized and completely wiped off of the internet strictly based on accusations and stuff now. It's a really scary time. Doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, or whatever party. This can happen to anybody at any time, and it's something that people should really be concerned about.
Oh, I 100% agree with you, and I believe if Elon Musk didn't have the billions that he has, it would have happened. There was already attempts made. Pretty wild, huh? I guess his response is just to have more and more kids. Hey, here's some. Here, have a kid. Here, have a kid.
Well, Elon Musk was interesting too, because when he took over Twitter and he started deep diving into the archives of Twitter, he started putting that stuff out. Like, hey, look, the government has been actively for years going to Twitter directly saying, hey, take this person down. Hey, take down this post. Hey, we don't like this. And Twitter was complying, and now and he's putting that all out there. It all got swept under the rug. Like, the mainstream media didn't report on any of that, and he made that completely public, that this was a thing. It's like the mainstream media is in bed with this.
Yeah. And it's coming right from the government. So they were complicit in the government's attempts to make sure that women's choice was to weaponize themselves, Glenn. They wanted to ensure that because of Twitter and the dopamine hits that they chose to weaponize themselves. Now let's take a look. What was the gentleman that got 30 years in California? Let's talk about statute of limitations. Were you guys all raised and understood there was a statute of limitations on crime? If the state couldn't bring charges against you in a certain amount of time, then they did not deserve to bring charges to you because they were simply doing what the British used to do, right?
Same with the same with double jeopardy. Like once
Double
you've been
jeopardy.
tried for something,
Yep.
you can't be retried for it, because otherwise the government can just forever just keep coming after you with their unlimited resources and just completely ruin you. And so that those kinds of things were put in place to protect the little guy, you know.
Yep. So now the media and these corporations realize that they can continue to do this in the court of public opinion forever and ever and ever. One thing that California discovered too is they have discovered some 26 years ago that they could pass unconstitutional laws, and because of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that was stacked in their favor politically, that they could delay any action on laws for up to 12 years before it would be reviewed by the Supreme Court. Whereas ethically, everybody would honor the Constitution because of the oath that they were given in our great state. They would not enact a law that hadn't passed muster. Well, as of that time, they now enact the law, and you get to suffer under an unconstitutional law or until it's ruled upon. That's how they got around the Constitution here, and that has spread across the entire country. So you know, this statute of limitations thing. Did you guys all understand that it was 7 years? Is that what you guys were taught in school? 7 year, or did it vary state to state?
I thought it depended on the law itself too, because some things there are no statutes of limitations on.
That's correct. The ones I can find traditionally was capital murder, right? Which makes sense because whoever got murdered can't speak for themselves. There shouldn't be, right?
I took a street law class in high school, and like Paul and you were saying with the capital crimes, no statute of limitations. Most financial stuff 7 years, and then other petty laws that were out there like 5 years.
Yep, that's right. That's what I saw too. And then there was now the federal government had to get their hand in there too, because of what happened to the guy that flew across the Atlantic the first time. Kidnapping got added. There's no statute on kidnapping, which does make sense in a way, because most kidnaps, believe it or not, women kidnap children so that they have a baby. That was the most common. Do you know that? They end up that way. You know, they kidnap so that they have this baby for many, many, many years. And so they decided, you know what, there should be no statute of limitations on a crime like that. That's pretty depriving. And then the federal government wanted their hand in there, and they went ahead and put treason and espionage. No limitations, because you could have security impacts that could affect the entire country or the economy. Kind of makes sense, right? Particularly when we're dealing with nuclear weapons. Do you guys know that in the 90s, the states most of the states, and you guys know where it came from because I live there, and Glenn used to live here too. Now most states have no statute of limitations on sexual assault. And it started with grape. Oh, there's no limitation on grape. And you know what? Most people said, yeah, grape's so egregious, we should do that. Not even realizing that the women had already been weaponized at that point. And that was a very dangerous place to go. They absolutely discount the fact that, you know, more rapes occur in the U.S. to men.
Well, this is
when
what
you
usually
include the prison population.
Well,
Oh, go ahead. I'm
sex,
sorry.
any
Yeah.
sex in prison is considered rape because of PREA. Inmates don't have the right to consent to sex.
Right.
Period.
Yep.
Like I know a girl that got busted. She was a corrections
Yeah.
officer.
I mean,
She got-
it usually happens. We give away.
Must be a delay with Nuke.
Go ahead, Nuke.
I think there's a
Sorry.
really big delay.
So it usually happens when we're about to give women a lot of power. We don't know what we're doing. We just kind of like, hey, this is great because it looks good on paper and it makes us men feel good. But when we're about to sign away a lot of power to women, we don't think about these things until it's too late. And now here where we are, where like the average man is afraid to even take a drunk lady back to his apartment that's really into him and wants to have sex with him just because of this. You know, we didn't know what we were getting into when we signed these laws.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Hey, we got a super chat. This one deserves an Odin, guys. This is T-Rash, $5. See if we can get that out there. T-Rash showing off his 8-pack there. I'm totally envious. You know, I'm down to a 6-pack, so got to get that back soon. I would say commoditize their sexuality more than weaponize. I think that was weaponized is a proclivity to view them as victims. Well, I would disagree with that because I would think that the commoditization existed throughout all of time, and females know that. They have a commodity that we want. I mean,
It's their
you can
primary
s-
agency.
It's their primary agency, whereas ours is problem solving. So that's kind of backwards, but it's okay. We
Well, if you
appreciate
think
that.
No, I understand what he's trying to say. He said they commoditize the sexuality is more than a weapon. Like they commoditize it, like, oh, we'll have sex, let's have sex. But then what was weaponized is the proclivity of viewing as a victim. Oh, he raped me. Oh, they had sex.
Oh,
Something
in that
happened.
in that context,
Yeah.
I'm talking generally as a human
No,
being.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking specifically talking about in
Okay.
that context.
We could do that.
Like that their sexuality has been commoditized, but
Fair
they've
enough.
been weaponized in the sense of like they're always the victim.
Okay.
I mean, I don't understand how people could view women as always the victim when you look at the DV or the cases. Like women actually commit more domestic violence than men do. Especially when you add the lesbian community, right? It's crazy. And then when you look at rape allegations, they're saying about 50% of all rape allegations are false accusations or lies.
Yeah.
Where is this like nonsense coming from? Well, it comes from, what there's some bad things that happened before, and it must always be continuing. Always continue.
Glenn, where did you get the stat of 50% of allegations are false?
So,
because the earlier is why I asked, and I'm not arguing that it's true or false because I think most stats are bullshit anyway. But I found one yesterday for my stream that said that as far as false allegations go, only 2 to 10% are found to be unfounded.
Okay, the 2 to 10%. I know where it comes from. It comes from a 1972 study that has been debunked since then. So actually, the author had to retract.
Let me give you so there's this book called the
Pentagon
the
says it's
war.
60% false for the military.
Yeah.
That's for military though. Okay.
So if you look up there's a book written by
at least in the military.
Dr. Eric Nelson called the War on Justice Against Men. Right? He broke this down. An Air Force what they call them? It's like JAG. It's like an Air Force JAG. OSI. An Air Force OSI officer did this study on how many cases of sexual assault and rape were actually true based on all the Air Force bases around the world. U.S. Air Force bases.
So is this also based on military only?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he also did a study on, remember when they were doing like all the rape culture in the schools? He did a study on that too. So, and I'll send it to you. Where is it at? Right here. Hold on. Let me read this. So, here it is. One second. All right. So, Special Agent Charles P. McDowell, PhD. Special Agent McDowell did empirical research into false accusations of rape, and it was destroyed by a feminist congresswoman and 2 feminist attorneys. It took months of slewing the pieces together to what happened. So, Dr. McDowell, special agent, later is the Air Force Special Investigation. One of his projects was a careful study of every rape ever reported to the AFOSI worldwide and encompassing all U.S. Air Force bases for a 25-year period from 1965 to 1990. These several thousands of cases were sorted into 3 categories. The accusation was proven to be true, which was approximately 20%. The accusation was neither proven true or untrue, which is 30 to 40%. Evidence proved or the accuser admit to lying, 40 to 50%. So he has this 16-point checklist that he created that this congresswoman, once he actually came out with it, shut him down. Did not want that out there whatsoever because he was using empirical data and real connecting the dots here and be like, huh, wait a minute. We've ruined a lot of people's careers over a false allegation. You know? Yeah.
The bell that gets
20%.
rung can't be unrung.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like when you look at it, when you look at the statistics here and you apply the same metrics to it, right? You could say maybe 20% are let's just go with that. 20% are actually proven to be true. But then you have 30 to 40% that you don't know if they're true, and maybe 40 to 50% that are just downright false. What was that? What about the athlete, the guy from Los Angeles, young kid? He was supposed to go play pro football, right? Gets ruined over a false allegation.
False.
Served 10 years in prison just to get acquitted. He's done with sports. His sport playing years are over. Was there any?
They're doing the same thing with Deshaun Watson right now.
Yeah,
like last season and into this season.
So it's like, you know what? They have been incentivized to be weaponized.
Yes.
Let's just call it that. They have been incentivized to be weaponized.
Correct.
But we gotta tie in female nature into this too. There is a part of female nature that plays into why they want to like come out in the middle of like 10 years after an allegation. It's part like women love indignation and they love being the center of attention and they want that celebrity status that they lost when they were hooking up with said celebrity. Like this happened with Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know, the famous physicist, astrophysicist that everyone likes. He got an allegation, and it was from a woman when they were in college or when. Yeah. So imagine being this girl that you maybe hooked up with this guy or even worked with him or something. And maybe one day he touched your thigh and you were like, no, I don't get down like that. And he's like, okay, cool. And then this guy becomes really famous. Everyone loves him. He's world famous. He's basically a celebrity. And you're just an old hag in an apartment with cats. And you're just like mad at life and mad at the world. Why not accuse him of something? That way you can get brought up to the limelight. You can take him down. You get a little bit of status. You get your indignation out of your system, and that's what's going on here a lot of times too.
Attention.
Um,
a
lot of the times, yes, they do like, and like for like Kobe, what happened with Kobe Bryant, that was different because he got like it was immediate, right? As soon as that happened, like maybe a week later, the allegations came out, right? But that we could chalk it up to like men gonna men and women gonna women, right? But for things like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Justice Kavanaugh and all these people that it's from the past, basically it's just a woman realizing like, hey, I got nothing going on in my life. I either married a loser, I'm alone, and this guy's living his dream. This guy is killing it in life, but I hooked up with him once, or he was a little weird in his college years when, and I think if no one gets hurt, right, and something happened in your college, your teen years with a woman, you're young, people do stupid things, there's alcohol, there's drugs, as long as no one gets hurt, I think it's okay. And there's a statute of limitations that, hey, you have plenty of time to bring this up to the authorities. But what happens is women are like, no, I want to be center of attention again. I got nothing going on in my life. So they go and do this. And it's becoming more common simply because of that, because these women are realizing that the men that they slept with are not only are they saying things that they don't like or doing things they don't like, but also they're killing it at life and they're nothing. They're just an old hag in an apartment somewhere. So
you know what would change that, Nuke? I'll tell you what would change that. We start shaming these hoes again. Okay. Brand them with the scarlet letter of like an H or an L, like a liar, right? And then have them walk around publicly.
Whoa, get careful. You gotta be careful of that, Glenn. You gotta be careful with making Martin stuff.
If they're accusing a guy of a sexual assault or sexual crime, how about, and guys that get charged for this have to register as a sex offender. We need to register them as a lying offender. Okay. And
I'm absolutely on board with that. Like if you can,
I'm okay with registering them, but not putting making them wear a badge or something. That's where.
I really do think that this would stop the false allegations. If it's proven that a woman is falsely accusing a guy, she should accept the fate that guy would have had to face. So if he got look at like Danny Masterson, right? He got life in prison with eligibility for parole in 30 years, right? if that was all found to be false, all those women should be thrown in prison, life in prison, with eligibility of 30 years, because you're going to ruin a man's fucking life.
Yep.
Based on a lie, and
Yep.
and that's bullshit. You know,
I like the
Oh, wait a
idea of civil liability with no recourse in bankruptcy court, which would mean other than child support and taxes, those are the only things that can be garnished. If you did a false allegation and ruined a man's life and his livelihood, you'd be financially liable and you couldn't get out of it. It would be garnishable forever in order to pay it back. That would definitely start to stop it, because that hits them where they really need it.
and make them
You
think
know,
twice.
so
anyway.
when we throw them in jail, when we throw them in jail, they're now a liability for us to pay for. But if we hit them like that, that's pretty hard.
You make a goddamn good point, Thor. Fuck, you're so smart.
So if we,
Well, no, you know what they'll do? They'll just get married and not have any income.
Oh yeah, they'll make their husband pay for it then, right?
But see, that's the big issue, because now you have joint tax returns. So you do it like taxes, you see, and so that anything that gets returned, you have to skim off that as well. So
Yeah, imputed
that's
income,
one of the best
imputed income,
things,
like they do with
imputed income.
family court.
It's not that hard to get around if we had the desire to do so. You know, definitely. Now, yeah, this is pretty wild stuff. Now back to the Russell Brand thing. I just want to elevate this back to, you know, there are guys, when you get rich and powerful enough and you say things. Imagine, let's do a thought experiment real quick, guys. Imagine we're the board in a certain industry that makes products that rely solely on advertising and the belief that it would work. And we had this guy that got 6 million people to listen to him and not use our product. And it cost us billions of dollars. We'd sit in that boardroom and go, holy crap, he's got this blowtorch of a microphone and he's telling us, everybody, we're dirty bastards, and he knows our secret, that we have to make people believe that this product works. And we have actually gotten governments to believe it, and we've gotten people to believe it, and now they're not. This has cost us $1 billion. What would it cost us to make sure that this is not a factor anymore? Oh,
$20,000.
Yeah, $20,000, and we could find some people in the past.
Wait a minute.
We could make it happen for you to where that blowtorch is shut down. Do you not think that did not possibly happen to not only this man, but other men too in the recent past? When you get too big and you say too much, it happens. Started with Alex Jones, and even before that, and they assassinate your character.
But you see, the thing is, I mean, these allegations, like, look at Russell Brand, it doesn't hit the court. It stays in the court of public opinion. And Justice Kavanaugh, no charges were ever brought. I don't particularly like the individual. However, no charge were ever brought to court. But this is sufficient to ruin somebody's character. By the time you extricate yourself out of it, it's already done. The damage is done. Your life is gone. And it doesn't need to hit the court. And interestingly enough, when you look at the headlines, they're all the same across the board. They're exactly the same across several media sources. So this is orchestrated to begin with. And it doesn't hit the court to ruin somebody's life and somebody's character.
So character assassination would be relatively easy to legislate against. Think about it.
The only thing that could
I mean, we already have it. It's libel and slander.
So you know what they're doing though, like with Russell Brand, and they're gonna throw the book at Russell Brand. I'll tell you that right now. They'll throw the book at him, especially in the UK. Especially if Tate walks, Russell Brand is gonna be the sacrificial lamb.
I think so too.
Because I'm sorry, there's a lot more on Andrew Tate than there is on Russell Brand.
They got to keep a lid on this, and you know, but here's the thing: they'll turn every mountain into, they'll turn every molehill into a mountain in order to accomplish their goal of keeping those voices silent. Whether you like them or not, those voices do make a difference on the financial stage, the world, they make an impact in the economy. And these corporations, they will not tolerate it, and they're all connected together. That's my point today, was really, that right there. And then I had another thought experiment I want to throw by you guys. Do you mind? Imagine, if you will, imagine a world where AI actually existed and it wanted to get rid of humans. We made a movie about it in the 80s called The Terminator. What did we call that AI? Skynet, right? Do you guys all familiar with the Terminator movie? And what did it do? It built.
You mean
Okay.
the documentary? The documentary?
And then it killed everybody. Do you really think an AI that outsmarts us by a magnitude of order would actually do that? Or I postulate, would it just sit back quietly and understand male and female nature and then weaponize the women? Kind of like Ex Machina or She, those movies. Combine those together. You don't have to be obvious, so nobody will ever know. Who knows? I mean, half the internet's curated now by Google. That's fact. And the other half is approaching with Amazon. Look who owns the servers and the search engines. Could it be that there's an AI and the agenda is to depopulate slowly? If you were an AI, time wouldn't matter. Let them not breed each other into extinction. There'd be no threat. Anyway, just a thought experiment to have fun with. It sounds horribly. It actually sounds really horrible. It's the stuff nightmares are made of, because when you have a Skynet that throws bombs, we can pick up guns and fight against an evil robot. But when it's spread across a network and you actually have an AI, it's not obvious and it can use our own nature against us. Would not that be, Glenn, the actual Antichrist?
Well, there is an AI. It's called feminism.
That's my point exactly, son.
Actually, then in this case, intelligence is probably far-fetched. Like my daughter actually the other day said, "Hey, jellyfish, they have no heart, they have no brains." I'm like, what? Are they all feminists? Those jellyfish are all feminists? And they don't die.
Hey, I found a really good
give a
use.
shout out to Rolo with his 40K fandom. They called it abominable intelligence in that series.
There you go. That's correct. That's what they called it. Right. Hey, I did find a really good use for Chat GPT and AI. I couldn't really use it for, my emails and all that stuff. It's way too liberal. But can I tell you guys a secret? If anybody works for the man, still works for a corporation, it's really, really good when you take the corporate values and you fill out your employee comments back to your performance evaluation. It's fucking perfect.
Oh, that's good.
With its liberal bias, you're going to have a really good corporate evaluation if you use ChatGPT. Trust me.
That's a great idea. Good use of ChatGPT.
Okay, everybody watching this chat, you need to go and join my damn YouTube, because that was gold right there. That'll actually pay you back in your raise. Anyway.
Well, if you guys think about it, like what's happening with like feminism, it's very algorithmic. Like this is like almost it's a pattern. As a rational guy, you need to look at this and be like, I know what the steps are. I know what happens. Rich and famous guy that says mean things to people gets struck down because he says because of a false grape allegation or whatever. And then once you see that for what it is and realize that every couple years or every time someone goes, like, you have Donald Trump, the Tates, Russell Brand, it's almost like a cadence now. It's like, who's next? And then this person goes up. And then, so realize that if you understand the algorithm and how this works, you need to start as an average man, you need to start building a life or building a defense system or something. No one's safe, but at least you can be smart about it, right? There's people that say, hey man, have a camera in your house, in your apartment, right? A dog camera, so you can watch your dog when you're home. But that way, when a girl comes over and she sits on your lap and she's smooching your neck, and then the next day she's like, hey, he did this, and you can just show the judge, no, look, see the video? She was trying to take off my pants. She was very, into it. And then in terms of like your online persona, try to be anonymous, right? If you have to be, if you work for the man. And like on Facebook, the mainstream social platforms, present yourself like a very kind, cool, relaxed family guy. That way, when the public court opinion attacks you, they can see, wait a minute, but this guy has, so I can at least stave off some of that hate, right? Because imagine if you get accused of something, right? Let's say SA at work, right? You get accused of that, and then people from your own workplace go to your profile and then they see a rant about how great Trump is and build the wall and all these things. And yes, I believe all those things, right? But if I just keep my mouth shut, the power of shut the fuck up, and just put pictures of puppies, my kids, my wife, my parents on Facebook, they'd be like, oh, this guy's a normal guy. I don't see why I would never guess they would do that. Not to saying that it will protect you like completely, but at least you're not, doing the opposite, which is like, spouting red pill stuff on a Facebook platform where your grandma and your sister and your coworkers are on, right? So just be smart and realize like it's an algorithm. This is very, very predictable. It's gonna happen. The next person's gonna happen to. It's the only reason it hasn't happened to Pearl, and I hope it never does, is because she is a female, right? So they don't know what to do with Pearl yet. But hopefully it never happens to her. But that's the reason she's gone this far, because if anyone's on the chopping block next, it's Pearl. So yeah,
That's not a bad prediction. Right.
Yeah, she's next. They will do something.
She's gonna attack by both sides, both the Tradcons and the Wokesies.
Yeah, that's usually a good indicator that you're going to follow the Alex Jones path.
It seems like that seems to be the case when you get too big, right? She's got millions of followers. It's inevitable when you're too much in the limelight, too much speaking against the system. The system takes you down.
Yeah, fresh and fit. Yeah, fresh and fit. Whatever big accounts next,
Tim Pool.
Tim Pool will be
the next one.
Yeah. You think Tim Pool? Yeah, probably. And it's just a cadence. It's like almost at this point, who's next almost. And it's just like you can almost predict it. So just, protect yourself the best you can and just stay as quiet. It's like we're in a zombie apocalypse.
Kind of. Now you understand why my AI reference was such a scary thought experiment.
Yeah. Yeah, because we almost live in that era.
This might be what's going on, possibly. I mean, how do you explain the demographic crash? Really? I mean, men and women were meant to be like that, and we're not. What the hell? Use it against us. Hey, so we're kind of hitting our limits here with the time. Guys, I want to make sure everybody gets plenty of time to plug our stuff. I expect I'll start with Nuke. We'll go around the table, but I definitely want my two wrestlers to have their say today as we end the Dragon Ship. The Dragon Ship is the place where a rising tide lifts all ships, and we are that rising tide. Now, we had a lot of fun with a conversation today. Some of it serious, some of it not. It's something you have to be aware of. Men, women are weaponized today, whether by their choice, by society or not. The issue is, how does a man protect his meat, right? You heard that from Kroger. It's a good saying, but you do have to protect yourself at all given times. And there are ways to do it. We talked about some of them today. Any of these guys can tell you how to protect themselves. Some of us have been down that road. Some of us have protected ourselves mostly by being aware and being prepared and taking action before things happen. This is really the most important lesson from today. So let's start with you, Nuke. Let's get your roundtable thoughts and your plugs, man. What you got going on coming up real quick here, and where can we find you?
I like to finish with the story because one of my friends, he got accused. He was playing football for Boston College, I believe it was. This is before he met me. We met in the military, and his girlfriend accused him of what. He had to go. It was not a court case, right? But he had to go in front of the dean, and he had to explain. It was a big thing, and the only reason he got acquitted by his university justice system, whatever they had going on there, is the girl's friends testified against his girlfriend. So he's like, no, she's actually full of shit. I was there. That was not what happened. It was just a party. We walked in on them and they were having sex and it was consensual. Right. So he got off the hook. He lost his scholarship completely, had to join the military. And that's where I met him. And realized, guys, that sometimes it's during these things, it's the weirdest people that will come to your defense. Right. So always be kind to everyone. And, when you're stuck in this kind of like, if you get accused or your work or anything, right? Just don't lash out, relax, don't say anything stupid, back off, and just let things come where they may, and do the best you can, right? Because it's not your fault. Most of the time, it's you were just like Laurent said, you were just doing something that you always do, like a hug or a handshake. In my culture, we kiss women on the cheek at work, right? In some cultures, you kiss men and women on the cheek, and sometimes you do that.
Okay.
And sometimes, even if there's a girl that you don't do it to, if there's a girl that you don't do that to, they'll feel left out, and they'll be like, he's sexually harassing all the girls, but simply it's because you just, there's so many things uh, that could happen. And all I have to say is like, hey, be careful, don't be stupid, don't have your online persona if it's public, I like on Facebook, don't be like saying, women are bad, women suck, as if one day you get, in trouble, they're gonna go to that and be like, oh yeah, this guy's a piece of shit. So but yeah, you guys can find me on twitter.com/Calio Nuclear, and then I'll put my link tree in the comments. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that a bunch. And we'll get your link tree and you guys in the comments too. We'll go back and get those posted in there as well. Laurent from Tokyo, you got up very early to be a part of this. You have experienced much of this and have seen much of this in your life. What are your final closing thoughts? And I know you have something new you're working on that you can direct to people, which I saw a preview of it yesterday, which I thought was pretty intriguing and very interesting, which I will probably be a part of in the future.
So I hope so. I mean, all of you gentlemen are invited to a school community called Mind Chrysalis. Chrysalis chrysalis is like the butterfly, right? The worm that turns into a butterfly. So as a parting comment, there's a fantastic book about by Ryan Holiday, the guy who wrote The Obstacle is the Way, Ego is the Enemy. And it's about the crusade. There was another gossip magazine called Gawker that went after Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel is a genius. He's one of the early eBay founders, and when we say revenge is a dish best served, this reads like a fantastic. The name of the book is called Conspiracy. And this is revenge of one person against the media. So as Nuke said, you got to protect yourself at all times. So and conspiracy is actually a very good tale of how can things can be turned around. But for that, you need to be a billionaire first. So get going. But apart from that, the Mind Chrysalis is something we do with Ryan Fowler. So Mind Chrysalis in one word. You type school. I'll put the link right here now, or I'll put it in the chat room. And actually, let me put an invite right here now.
This is for our chat. It is an invite to come look. And
Yes.
Mind Chrysalis is based in an application called School, correct?
Correct. So I put the invite here. Please come and join. Ryan recorded a 77-minute video. It's free training. It's really about clearing the toxic shame. And this video, this 77 minutes, plus all the free resources that are put there, we truly believe that actually it will get some results to people. And then we want to have this community, so we invite everybody. A lot of people, they usually they're territorial about the followers. We take the opposite view. We want to help everyone, men, women, boys, girls, across gender, race, age, and so on and so forth. So, and even wrestlers like Paul and Glenn, you're welcome. So please come and join us. It really is there to help people. So
can I paraphrase it in a nutshell for our viewers? It is essentially a self-improvement school that has many contributors in various skill sets, from hypnosis to finance, things like that, which you can ask questions and access, right?
Correct. Absolutely. So for all kinds of it's about clearing trauma. The idea there is when you ask, for instance, let's talk about money. What a lot of people work very hard, and when they do everything they can, but when you ask them, do you believe that you're worthy of being a millionaire, and you see the shoulder slump, that is a clear sign that I'm not good enough. Toxic shame. Or like, for instance, people who are overweight, they can't really get to the image, their self-image, their self-worth. This is in the limbic system. And this is when you clear that, you realize that actually, this weight off your shoulder, you become a different person. So please do come. Everybody is welcome. Everyone, all walks of life. Please.
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate that. AJ, your final thoughts, and where can we find you?
Final thoughts. It's kind of as worked last night, so I spent some time on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And it's kind of interesting to watch how the left and the right, the religious and the militant atheistic are pretty much all four, like all of them are weaponizing, and it's kind of crazy just watching it. Also, like Nuke and Laurent said, and I'm sure Paul and Glenn will say the same thing. Listen to the content that we make, learn how to protect yourselves, and everything should work out for you. I'm going to post, send in the chat links for my Instagram, my YouTube channel, and the affiliate link to the DragonShip. I think me and you discussed November 14th. I'll be putting on the seminar on that.
Sounds good.
All right. Yeah. And that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, folks, come and join the Dragons membership. And they're going to get some good information. And you're actually going to get a seminar from a skilled tradesman. So that should help very, very much so. Let's talk to, you know what? Should we flip a coin or should we have those two thumb wrestle for who goes next? Should we get the jabroni or the jabroni's uncle? Which one should we get to
rock, paper, shoot?
What? How about the reigning defending champion goes first?
Ladies go first.
Rock, paper, scissors to see who goes first, huh? You guys want to do that?
The World's Women's Championship could go first.
Wow. I think the challenger goes first.
I'm not challenging. I'm the undisputed, untitled champion. I ain't challenging.
That's not a thing.
It's a thing.
Number one contender is that's reputable. Number one contender. I mean, you had to fight a lot of guys to get to that spot. You know what I mean? So
go ahead, ma'am.
I know he had to beat Huds.
All right, here we go. All right, we'll go with mine first. I'm just gonna play this video.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
All right, here we go. I'll upload it here. Only
time to.
No worries, man.
Crap. Hold on. Here we go.
Last several months, people have been asking me, are you really going to fight Glenn Lawrence? Are you really going to settle things like men in the center of a ring? The answer's always been, hell yes. The question is, how do you get tickets? Unfortunately, you can't see it live in person. Big Valley Wrestling says something about liabilities or whatever, but it is going to be filmed. So while we're flying out to Vegas and we're settling things in the ring October 7th at Fall Fight Club, you won't be able to see it till a week or two later on pay-per-view. But the good news is you can buy your tickets now. If you go to fight.comeonmanpod.com or click the link in my bio, you can get your tickets and secure your seat to the fight of the century. It's going to be the first ever Manosphere fight that actually takes place. A lot of these guys in the space talk a good game. They like to beef with each other and challenge each other to boxing matches. But unlike those jabronis, Glenn and I are putting our money where our mouths are, and we're actually going to do it. If you want to support me, your world Manosphere champion, buy your tickets now. You're not going to want to miss it.
All right, that's all I got to say.
Excellent. Oh, wait a minute. We got to go full screen. Stand by.
That was cute. That was real cute. Listen, I may not make a whole bunch of videos because I'm actually out here training and fighting. You know what? This little
time management issue.
Come on, girl podcast. He's so scared to fight me that he tried to get me killed twice. First, he tried to get me with COVID. Didn't work. Then he sent some young kid to try to cut me in the back of the leg. Where's that kid now? He's buried out here in the Vegas desert. You know who's also going to be buried out here in the Vegas desert? Come On Your Face Girl podcast. That's right. That's right. He's next. So come on, Paul. I'm waiting for you, sweetheart. Let me give you the whooping your daddy should have given you before you open your mouth again. You can get my link right here in the chat. All right? Get it in the chat. Join the real team. Undisputed, undefeated, real champion. Not some bald guy with the ugly beard.
Damn, you guys. That's the best shit ever in the world. And we're going to be there. And it's going to be fantastic. Can you guys remind everybody? I mean, it's going to come out when?
It's probably going to come out like towards the end of October.
Okay.
Probably around Halloween.
Cool.
But you guys help us, hit our channels, right? Thor, can you throw my link? For some reason, I can't share the link into the group chat or
I
the.
might not have enabled
That's
myself.
one thing. That's one thing you guys need to know, right? If you guys want to see Glenn kick the crap out of me, use Glenn's link.
Yeah.
Support Glenn because his link is going to his Gumroad. And
I
then
see.
if you use
I
my
see.
link, if you want to see me beat the crap out of this pretender, Glenn, use my link, and then that supports me.
And you guys know that we have already pledged a certain amount of money to give to this organization. They are really trying to help this specific school get better gym equipment. We are pledging that money. So you guys purchasing the pay-per-view really kind of helps us meet that pledge. So we have already agreed to a certain amount of money that's coming out of our own pocket. And if you guys want to help support us in this effort, your donations, your buying the pay-per-view event really helps support this effort. Because, we want to do this again. This is not going to be the first time and only time we do this. I have planned when we do Real Zero Con that we're going to do a Royal Rumble where I whoop all these candy asses.
Glenn,
Elena,
I've seen your knees. I'm going right for the double leg takedown.
Elena,
Go for the takedown, but guess what? That's a whole lot of weight falling down on you.
Elena, if you can't make up your mind, just buy tickets from both. It's all going to
I know
a
how to
good
break
cause
fall.
anyway.
Can you break a boulder?
Too much. You guys are great, man. I love it. So, I put my money where my mouth is, and I give you guys a free chapter of my book, A Dominant Masculine Presence, which both of you need to read to prep for this fight. And you can get it in the chat and use the code free DMP or Rule Zero Fan, and you'll get a specialized video of chapter 4, which is the skill set of a dominant masculine presence, which it looks like these two guys are starting to actually, get above average in, which is pretty damn good. So we really, really appreciate that. And really, guys, there's not a lot much more to say than that it's been great on the Dragon Ship. I'm going to take us out with just a small video today. It's not going to be much,
I already got mine. Somebody didn't read theirs.
I listened to it
There
on
we go.
audio. I listened to it.
Here we go, guys. I appreciate that. And you know what?
Audio is not signed. You can't get a signed copy of the audio, you douche canoe.
Oh,
Well,
but
I'm hoping to get him to sign my belt when he comes out in Las Vegas.
you know where you
I'm going to
can
sign your
sign
belt
copy?
with your face getting smashed on it. The imprint is going to be on there. That's going to be your signature. It's going to be like,
Wow.
You guys can get a signed copy of DMP of a dominant masculine presence from me at becomedurable.com. And by the way, you're only going to pay shipping and retail. You're not going to pay extra for my signature, although you should, since I am a just below average god amongst men. But you can absolutely get that there. And I sure appreciate it. And here's the thing. If you like that free audio chapter, do me a solid. Go out there, buy the audio book. The audio book's been released, on Audible. I'll drop the link for you. Go try it out. Listen to it. If you're even slightly interested, take a listen and get out there and buy that book and leave me a 5-star review, guys, and give me and girls. I've had some amazing reviews that are 5-star from some of the gals out there too. Much, much appreciated. So go check it out at becomedurable.com. Going to take us out with a short video today, guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you next weekend. We'll see who's going to host then. Maybe one of you guys will want to step up and take the helm on the Dragon Ship. Skull.